what will be, I'm sure, a quite phenomenal reception. A lot of debate, of course, Bobby Charlton, about whether semi-finals should be played now at Wembley or on league grounds, but you certainly can't fault the flavour of this occasion, can you?
No, it's a great ground for semi-finals, and as you said, John, you know, it's had a great history in the past. I think that Wembley should be kept really just for the final. It is that special place where the players strive to get to. They give a lot to get to Wembley Stadium, and having to come and play on pitches like Hillsborough, Aston Villa, Old Trafford, for example, is part of the build-up to the cup final. No, but it's a marvellous stadium. The pitch itself, if I could comment, is a little similar to ours at Old Trafford. They have to have actually repaired a few little patches round about the ground, especially round about the penalty areas. But I think that when this has been done at Old Trafford, it seems to have worked. I had a walk on the centre circle, and the pitch itself seems quite soft. But other than that, most of the ground seems quite solid, and I think that it shouldn't affect the play, really. I think had it rained, it might have made rather a big difference, which it did with us last week when we played Villa. One of the goals was given away when one of our players slipped in the centre circle and had to give away a free kick. But generally speaking, a marvellous atmosphere. You know, the ground is split in two, and we've got what we always assume are very confident Cockney side, and from the Midlands, Brian Clough's side. I think probably the only thing that he has to do to cap his managerial career really is to win the FA Cup, and I think that today could be the day when maybe he'll see it right.
Well, it is his 34th attempt, Bobby. I remember him saying to me in an interview earlier this week that he played in the FA Cup against your good self in his playing days. But now the moment when the two teams, Nottingham Forest on the left-hand side and West Ham on the right, come out to face their expectant supporters. And incidentally, there was no toss for the choice of colours today. Billy Bonds and West Ham were very happy to wear white, which they regard as a lucky colour for them in FA Cup semi-finals. And this has been a fairly good ground for them too. Stadium bathed in sunshine, and what a lovely day it is, semi-final day, isn't it? A real highlight of the season, and we've had already splendid entertainment in the south. I wonder what awaits us here in the Midlands. Everybody seems in such good spirits. And the two teams just lining up for the benefit of photographers and crowd alike. And when they break, we'll check on the lineups, and we'll start with Nottingham Forest, because their team news did raise a few eyebrows. Gary Parker is back at number 6, and Gary Crosby returns at number 7. No surprises there. But at number 10 and number 11, the selection of 20-year-old Lee Glover and 23-year-old Ian Wone, in preference to Nigel Jensen and Steve Hodge, not widely anticipated. Jensen is on the bench, but Hodge, with only 90 minutes football in 6 weeks, is not in the 13. And the explanation for the choice of Glover I'll come to later. West Ham United have picked Trevor Morley, wearing number 11, as their only out-and-out striker. Jimmy Quinn on the bench. A lot will depend there on the role of number 8, Stuart Slater. We may well find him wide on the left, and pretty certain to find Kevin Keane in number 10, wide on the right. And don't confuse him, by the way, with Roy Keane of Nottingham Forest, who's wearing number 8 in their lineup. So Tony Gale at number 4 there did pass his fitness test, and Ray Stewart is a substitute. The explanation for the appearance of Lee Glover, who's a player who's had such bad luck with injuries in recent years, still not up to his 21st birthday. He's in because Ronnie Fenton, the Forest assistant manager, tells me they feel he is a more dangerous player against West Ham. It's a choice which is really determined by the opposition. So they're going to hope that Glover and Nigel Clough, with their quicksilver feet, can trouble Foster and Gale at the back for West Ham. It's a tactical choice, really, and as I say, they have got Jensen on the bench in case it doesn't work. Now, as for Ian Wone, this is dreamland for him. He's only played 4 first-team games. It's his first start in an FA Cup tie. and a year ago he was playing for Runcorn. And I was up on the Wirral last weekend at a Sunday League final, and they were telling me up there that he played for Heswall near Birkenhead, and he just can't believe his luck that here he is in an FA Cup semi-final, having only been with Forest this season. But I suppose when you think what's happened to Roy Keane at Nottingham Forest, anything seems possible. And Trevor Morley will feel that perhaps. He's missed 9 games since that domestic stabbing incident threatened to rule him out for the rest of the season, but he's made a rapid recovery, and he's still West Ham's top scorer with 16 goals, and he returned to the side at Brighton on Wednesday. The referee could not be more experienced. It's Keith Hackett from Sheffield. His 2 linesmen are Bob Andrews from Warrington, who will be on the dressing room side, the far side from us, and Paul Regier from Tipton on our side. Can Brian Clough reach the FA Cup final at last? Or will Billy Bonds carry on the West Ham tradition? He was their captain when they won the Cup in 1975 and 1980. He's now their manager in his first full season. The sun shining on this stately setting as the 2 teams compete for the right to play Tottenham Hotspur in the 1991 FA Cup final. This is Gary Charles for Forest, playing from the left. Charles preferred at right back, and he has Slater in his sights there, who has started on the left, with just Morley up front from the kick-off for West Ham. That was a foul by Charles. So Forest have the free kick, and it's gone to Walker. Slater. The captain is Bishop, number 7, and there was a foot up there. Number 6, Gary Parker on Ian Bishop.
I think it's very important that Mr. Hackett calms things down. A little bit tight at the moment in the middle of the field, and some of these tackles a little dangerous. He's making sure that he stamps on it quite early so the players know what's expected of them.
So can the Czech goalkeeper there perform more heroics as he has for so much of the season in the second division? Stuart Pearce up with 2 opponents. What wind there is here seems to be in West Ham's favour in the first half, so the goalkeeper's kicks may carry on the wind a bit. That certainly went past Chettle. Pearce was covering. Potts for West Ham. And forward by Nigel Clough towards Lee Glover. Over goes Tony Gale, whose first challenge will mean a lot to him. He's been struggling with a calf injury, the number 4. Glover again, and that was Foster, who used to play for Nottingham Forest, scorer of a goal in the 6th round for West Ham. Flags up for a foul by Stuart Pearce. Decision given promptly by the linesman on the far side, Bob Andrews. Bishop, and Foster well forward here for the Hammers. He likes to do this. If he gets caught out, and Forest are experts at counter-attack. This is Roy Keane. To his right is Gary Crosby. Through the middle, Nigel Clough, but still Keane. And Charles joins the attack as well. Play on, says Keith Hackett, and Keane really didn't release the ball soon enough. There were players either way, and it was an opportunity for Nottingham Forest. This time Parker can't control it. Bishop. That was Martin Allen wearing number 9 for West Ham.
Good chance there. Gary Crosby on the right-hand side of the field went in a good position, but it wasn't used. It's a really good break, though.
This is Morley looking for Kevin Keane, and Des Walker steps in. Parker for Forest. Charles. Balloons on the pitch, reflecting the festive occasion we've got here. Let's hope there's a match to go with it. Well, Steve Chettle came climbing over Trevor Morley. Free kick to West Ham. Number 6 there with the ball, Chris Hughton, who played for Tottenham in 3 FA Cup finals. He was thrilled with this morning, or the result early this afternoon from the first match. Harris, and that's Wone. He's entitled to feel a bit nervous, I would think, but he's got a good left foot. And he had to use it there to steer the ball out of play because he was in a tight corner. Potts. Here's Bishop. 5 minutes gone.
Ian Wone, a young player there, got caught outside his own position, which was down and left back, and he was pressurised a lot. How young players in a situation like this are going to respond is very important, and probably will decide the results. There are a lot of very, very young players on here who've never ever played in a semi-final before, and I think how mentally they can handle it and how they've been motivated by the manager is going to be important too.
Here's Bishop, the West Ham captain, already heavily involved. This is Allen. Big day for the Allen family too. His cousin Paul helped Spurs reach the final in the first match today. Here's Gale, looking for Kevin Keane. Harris, number 3, but playing in midfield. Wone to Glover. Potts. The reputation of these two clubs, for the type of football they like to play, goes before them. You'll see the ball played to feet most of the time. Has been rather more consistent than that of Nottingham Forest, but what does that matter on semi-final day? It's so much a one-off occasion, as was proved at Wembley. Wone to Pearce. Already hear the strains of I'm Forever Blowing Bubbles coming from the West Ham section. As Pearce takes the free kick into Nigel Clough. Parker running on well. This is Gary Parker. Nearly ran for Keane. Parker! Very close for Forest. And again the ball kept low. Moved about well. Parker made the first surge here. It nearly ran on for Roy Keane with his left foot. He just jabbed it back to Parker, and not far away. Chettle with a firm header to Clough. Play on, says Keith Hackett, a referee who likes to let the game flow. Forward by Potts. Morley. Offside. Martin Allen.
That was a great chance that Forest just had. One of the great assets they've got is Nigel Clough, in the way that he's able to lay balls off for incoming midfield players. And this is the type of play that I don't think that Gale or Foster have handled at the back in the second division, and it could be a telling thing later in the game. Nigel Clough, probably one of the best at laying off that you can possibly get, and of course he's got very eager midfield players to come and support him.
Clough to Roy Keane to Charles. It's Crosby on the wing. Forest will be pleased to see him back to fitness. And, missed his little burst down that side. Keane goes in there. Wone coming in. And Nigel Clough challenging. Here's Crosby against Chris Hughton. Obstruction. But imagine Forest want Crosby to have a run at Chris Hughton whenever he gets the ball to his feet. He was blocked off there. This is Parker. Gale. Allen. Morley. Potts. We've been playing 10 minutes at Villa Park. No score. Forest beaten in those two semi-finals by Liverpool in 88 and 89. It'll be a bitter pill to swallow if they go down again today. Pearce. Here comes Chettle. Saw Billy Bonds from the back there pointing. First experience for him as a manager on an occasion like this. His team had spent the season in the second division playing the usual West Ham brand of first division football in terms of style. Here's Slater. Parker. This is Glover. There's Parker again for Forest. Charles. Slater. Morley. Roy Keane. Walker.
Certainly young Roy Keane, the Irish lad, had a good start. He's been involved in everything in the middle of the field, winning tackles, trying to set up things for Gary Crosby on the right-hand side. And they're winning the midfield battle just at the moment, Forest.
Yes, a lot of his supporters down there in the Republic of Ireland. He came from Cove Ramblers near Cork, and they're watching that his performance today in that part of Ireland with great interest. It's West Ham with Potts. Well played by Tony Gale. Harris. Bishop. Trying to get Kevin Keane in on the far side. Pearce. Wone. Nice back heel. One luxury West Ham do have is two footballing centre-backs, Foster and Gale, both capable of bringing the ball out and creating moves ahead. Nicely done by Slater, that was. Here's Hughton. Slater again. Harris. Slater. This is Morley. Following up for Forest, Gary Parker. Crosby to his right. Houghton in firmly.
There's something delightfully unpredictable about this semi-final, because as Bobby Charlton says, so many of the players have not been in this sort of match before.
There's one of them, Roy Keane, and here's Glover for Forest. And Foster finally stabs it away for West Ham. Here's Bishop.
Some people would have criticised Brian Clough for the selection, but you can't argue with what he's done. Young Ian Woan shown very confident play anytime he's had the ball. All these young players, the Forest team, quite well motivated. They seem to know exactly what they're doing and what the responsibilities are.
Parker's directing things, and there goes Charles. Foster came across. Nothing to worry Keith Hackett. But Gary Charles, the young right back, got into a very advanced position there. He was 21 years old yesterday, Gary Charles, so what better way to celebrate than to be playing in an FA Cup semi-final. He got right into the heart of the attack there. Just over a quarter of an hour gone at Villa Park. Nottingham Forest 0, West Ham United 0. Martin Allen for West Ham. Morley running through the inside right position. Forest will let West Ham come on to them. They are past masters at the counter-attack, as we saw in some of their earlier FA Cup ties.
Yeah, they are playing very much square across the back of West Ham, and it could well be that they might pay for that. Having got good, strong midfield players coming through on the break, and they've obviously picked young Lee Glover for his pace. And these great big long balls that are going to be sent down, George Paris has got it this time, but nevertheless is going to pressurise them later on in the match.
Here's Paris. Slater. Comes off the head of Tony Gale. Glover, Clough and Roy Keane all in the penalty area. Woan's there also, and Parker. Here he is. Back again to Crosby. This is Charles. Glover. Crosby. Whipped in. It was pots away from Woan. This is Pearce. It's Keane. Ian Woan involved again. Clough. Good defending on the far post by Steve Potts, the West Ham number 2, to prevent this man Ian Woan from stealing in.
That's the first time we've had a chance of seeing Stuart Pearce up in this half of the field too. Obviously feels a bit more comfortable about things so that he can get himself forward.
That was his header. It was Parker's pass, and it's Glover in pursuit, but Gale is there. Bishop, who took over the captaincy when Julian Dix was ruled out for the season. He's with the team today, though. Quite a few West Ham players unavailable for this match. McAvenny suspended. Dowie cup-tied. Breaker injured. Flag was up for offside.
George Paris, what they would say in the trade, has a good engine. He's been up and down trying to support his forward players, also coming back to supplement his defenders. A good strong runner, not afraid to put his foot in when he needs to either. But it's nicely poised just yet. Really, if it have to go any odds, you would have to give it towards Forest at the moment. They're just being a little bit more progressive, a bit more positive in going forward.
Here's Wone. I mean, this is no disrespect at all to Arsenal, but the buzz around the dressing rooms before this game was what a good cup final it's bound to be now, because Tottenham against either of these two teams would promise to be an exceedingly good football match. That was the feeling here anyway. This is Crosby. And to his right is Roy Keane. We've been playing 20 minutes in the Villa Park semi-final, and we still await the first goal. Not quite the explosive start they had at Wembley, is it? Mind you, there are one or two players out there who can take a handy free kick, should one come along. Foster's header, Kevin Keane. Allen. Up on the right is Steve Potts. Across goes Steve Chettle. Slater. Oh, mistake in the Forest defence, and Morley, he checked back to find Martin Allen.
Martin Allen, yeah, a shot, not one he would be proud of. Nevertheless, it just shows you can't be complacent in the defence back here as far as Forest are concerned. Just that little bit of indecision whether you're going to do one thing or the other, and at this sort of level, you know, these things get punished. Fortunately for Forest, not this time.
Yes, if either central defensive partnership was to get careless, there's no real cover on. We're not playing sweepers here today. This is Roy Keane to Gary Charles. Trying to find Crosby, but it's a bit tight. This is Parker. Nigel Clough in the middle. Bishop, well brought down. And he was kicked at really there by Lee Glover. Free kick. Keith Hackett says keep the feet down. Slater. Too short, and Houghton did well. Glover turns Foster. Good tackle, Bishop. But he was fouled by Glover. Hackett, who's handled all the big occasions. Oh, it was short, and Morley got a foot in where Chettle really wasn't too certain. He didn't put enough weight on the pass, and Morley had the sight of goal for a moment there. And he jabbed it into the body of Crossley. Now it's Nigel Clough for Forest, out to Ian Wone. Keane. Both Keanes involved, actually. Kevin darting in to prevent Roy from finding a way through. Steve Chettle would have been a relieved man there. That back pass towards Crossley was under hit. This is Gale. Across to Houghton. Wide for Slater. He's got a personal battle here against Gary Charles, as Slater, in the same way that Houghton here has got one against Crosby. Bishop. Good turn. Allen. In goes Walker. Strong tackle. Glover's there. Allen's also a good tackler. Wins it back. Morley. Kevin Keane looks for George Paris. Allen's running on well. A lot of quick thinking going on out there. Roy Keane was aware of the danger and went to help his back four. Martin Allen thwarted. Wone. Clough. There's not very much space around. As yet the forward players unable to break away. Foster. There's Kevin Keane. Keith Hackett was allowing Kevin Keane to get back on the pitch before Stuart Pearce took the throw. Here's Nigel Clough. 25 minutes gone at Villa Park, and nothing between First Division Nottingham Forest and Second Division West Ham. Morley battling with Chettle. Still Morley. Kevin Keane. Slater's in the middle. That was Gary Charles, header out. George Paris coming in. Play on, says Keith Hackett. This is Steve Potts for West Ham. Good challenge by Ian Wone for Forest, but Potts wins it back. And here comes Charles away from Slater. And now Gary Crosby for Forest up against Tony Gale. And Crosby had the pace. And Gale bumped him down. Keith Hackett goes straight to his pocket. It's, what, 23 yards out, the challenge. Crosby was away from Gale, and Gale came in, and it's red. It's the cynical foul on the player in the goal-scoring opportunity. Tony Gale has been sent off the pitch in the FA Cup semi-final. What a sensation. Keith Hackett says that's the way the law is, you've got to go. And I'm not so sure that there won't be controversy about that decision. Bobby Charlton is shaking his head. Here's what happened. Did he push him? Did he bump him? Did he pull him back by the shirt? Well, he certainly went over. And West Ham United have been reduced to 10 men, and Tony Gale is sent off in the FA Cup semi-final. We'll debate that after the free kick, Bobby Charlton, because Forest have got an opportunity here. Parker has lined the ball up, Pearce is there, so is Nigel Clough, and West Ham, for obvious reasons, are rocking. And it's Nigel Clough into the wall. Walker. Keith Hackett went to his pocket the instant that collision happened. Here's Pearce. That's another free kick. And West Ham now have got to keep their composure. They could hardly have expected that to happen. After what, 27 minutes, they're down to 10 men. And a shock sending off for Tony Gale. There's a spectator on the pitch having to be ushered away. And tempers are rising here. We'll have to stay with the play, though. It's Pearce. It's Chettle. And now it's Foster. Who goes and plays in central defence? Perhaps Steve Potts to go back there where Gale was. We'll see what the reorganisation means to West Ham. Here's Slater on the break. And Slater again. It's wide to Martin Allen. And West Ham force a corner. Now, talk about up against it. They're going to have to play nearly three-quarters of this FA Cup semi-final, a man short. And with teams like Nottingham Forest and West Ham, I think the last thing we expected today was a sending off. There was one the last time West Ham played here in the semi-final, strangely, against Everton. Brian Kidd was ordered off that day for something rather more violent, I remember. There was a bit of fisticuffs that day. But for the moment, it's a corner to West Ham. To be taken by Kevin Keane. Allen. And Foster's there. And Paris is there. Great save, Crossley. Away by Roy Keane. Kevin Keane. Slater for West Ham. Fell over his own feet initially. And George Paris hit one there that looked to be on its way. But on their way now, Forest with Parker. Crosby. And it's Gary Parker. Keane goes to the right. West Ham funnel back. The first quick word then on the sending off, Bobby Charlton.
Well, I don't agree with it. I think when the professional foul is supposed to warrant a sending off, it's because there's a person going through completely on his own and would score. I don't think that Gary Crosby was going to score then. I think he was being pushed too far wide. And I think that really, when all's said and done, I don't think it was actually a foul either. I think it just clipped his heel, which was quite accidental. But certainly in the situation, I think that Mr. Hackett might have allowed him to stay on there.
I must say, when he first went to his pocket, Keith Hackett, I was expecting the yellow card, but it was red, and it joins the catalogue of incidents this season. You all know them back at home, I'm sure. John McClellan, Jimmy Case, so many incidents where there's argument, should the player have gone off or not? Well, the facts are on semi-final day that Tony Gale has been dismissed, and West Ham are down to 10 men. Half an hour gone, no score. Crosby for the Forest. And again, still Crosby. Tackle was by Potts, who, as I thought, seems to have gone into central defence. I think George Paris will have to play right back for the time being. And that means West Ham will be a little lighter in midfield. More work for Bishop, who was cut off there by Charles. Here's what happened. Gary Crosby is the Forest player. There's an arm, there's a push, there's certainly contact. But was he going near the goal or was he going away from the goal, as Bobby Charlton feels? We have got the FA hierarchy here today. Bert Millerchip, Graham Kelly, senior men who will be watching that and monitoring it with interest.
I think really the professional foul was brought in so that it wouldn't be abused. Things wouldn't have abusers, but nevertheless that I thought really was really quite silly from the referee's point of view. He won't say so, but nevertheless he's got to think about the game itself, and he might well have ruined the game by his decision there.
Well, it's been said in the past, I suppose, that matches are sometimes partially spoiled by sendings off. One remembers the Holland-West Germany game in the World Cup, but at the same time, if the referee feels that's the law, then he does what he thinks fit. He can't subscribe to the entertainment angle all the time. Here's Walker. I suppose an FA Cup semi-final should be refereed like any other game. But certainly there will be a lot of debate, and I think a lot of people may feel the way that Bobby Charlton does. We shall see. Paris. It's certainly the point of debate so far in the first 35 minutes, because there haven't been too many shots on goal. There was one rasping drive from George Paris which followed the sending off, which is perhaps the nearest we've been. Slater so nimble. Well, Roy Keane seemed to bring him down, but play goes on. This is Nigel Clough, and Roy Keane now in the attack for Forest. Parker. This is Gary Charles. Oh, space for Nigel Clough. And Glover. I think Nigel Clough was trying to find Charles with that pass. Here's Morley. Free kick to West Ham. Of course, West Ham already without Frank McAvenny today due to a sending off and a subsequent suspension. Here's Chris Hughton. Bishop. Martin Allen. Harris. Kevin Keane. Harris continues his run forward for West Ham. In the middle is Morley, and that's going to be a corner conceded by Roy Keane. And Colin Foster will make his way up from the back, but no Tony Gale to go with him now. Kevin Keane to flight the corner in. That was Foster, and Crossley comes to meet Trevor Morley, and the referee says that's a foul.
Well, West Ham down to 10 men now. They've reshuffled a few players around, but really it's had more of an effect on their attitude. They seem to be more positive, want to go forward now and take a few chances. Of course, the longer the game goes on, you know, the more that they will feel this. Still, you see Des Walker in the middle of the field. He's gesticulating with Stuart Pearce over something. They're obviously not satisfied with the way they're performing at the back, especially against 10 men. But it is a situation that's really controversial. I think because the games are so important, you know, that they always give the best referees to these fixtures, and sometimes the pressure, I feel, gets to them. I know what you say, John, when you say that it's not a case of the referee having to use his common sense. He has to apply the rules as he's given them. Nevertheless, I think that unless it's an out-and-out direct shot at goal or a chance that's being stopped by an unquestioned foul, then I think that they really should look to favour the defender. I think that the player, Gary Crosby, was running away. He was on his left-hand side of the field. That's not for the referee to know, but nevertheless, he was running into a position where it was less likely that he was going to score. And he's made the decision anyway. I have to stick with it. West Ham have to deal with it.
They certainly do. Oh, Des Walker making an unusual mistake. This is Slater up against Charles. The England defender sold himself there in a way he very rarely does. Anyway, got away with it for the time being. Here's Morley. Slater back to Bishop. Difficult ball for Hughton. He did well enough though. Trying to get Morley in behind Charles. Free kick. Threatening position now for West Ham. If they can get the delivery right from here, there could be fireworks. Bishop can usually pinpoint these. He's got Morley, Allen and Foster to aim at. Foster's saying, give it some air. Not enough, it seems. Keane to Paris. And there's Gary Parker. Now this could be a break for Forest if it's played right. They've got Wone, Glover and Clough up. This is Wone. Two more coming the other way now. 7 in the attack. This is Parker. Stuart Pearce steams down the left. Corner given. It was Kevin Keane and Potts who went to meet him. And now it's the turn of Steve Chettle to go forward for Nottingham Forest. Lee Glover and Nigel Clough taking up positions inside the 6-yard box. Keane is there too. Too high for Chettle, cleared by Foster. Crosby. Well, so far, Forest have been unable to make the extra man tell. Slater, nice skill. Kevin Keane. To his right, Martin Allen. And the ball comes off Pearce, but the advantage is West Ham's. Referee Hackett right to let play go. Keane to Paris. Still George Paris. Allen. Lofted shot from Martin Allen.
Clever shot there from Martin Allen. It wasn't actually a shot, it was more of a chip. I think he expected the goalkeeper to come out and narrow the angle and leave his goal unattended. Just overhit it.
For anybody who's joined the match late, we've had one sensation here at Villa Park, and I think that word can be used for what happened. Tony Gale sent off after 25 minutes for the cynical offence when a player was going towards goal. Or certainly past the last defender, let's put it that way for the time being. Here's Crosby. Roy Keane. Going back to the incident, funnily enough, Crosby started about 5 yards behind Tony Gale. I think Gale was almost surprised to see him come past him. Here's Slater. Kevin Keane. Walker on Slater. Nice pass by Nigel Clough to Roy Keane. Crosby. Oh, that's not really where Parker wanted it, but he got it out to Pearce. This is Wone. 5 minutes left in the first half. No score. Clough for Nottingham Forest. Pearce runs on. But the final ball really applies to both sides. Has not been delivered perfectly up to now.
No, Nigel Clough won't be pleased with that one. Stuart Pearce ran about 50 yards to get to it and expected a little bit better service than that. But some of it has been a little untidy when it got near the box. And it's where you need that little bit of extra flair that good midfield players can come into their own. At the moment, West Ham seem to want to be trying to settle the game down a little bit. They see that it's getting near half-time, so they're not going to try anything desperate and make any silly mistakes while they've only got 10 men and the manager can never talk about it at half-time. But it really has changed the whole course of this match. Certainly West Ham are trying that a little bit harder, trying to make up for the spare man. Forest, it seems to have affected them worse. They seem to be less positive. They probably think that they've got a little bit more time yet, John.
Often happens, doesn't it, Bob, that the team reduced to 10 men lift their game and the side who are supposed to have the advantage can't seem to make it tell immediately, but that's the way football is. That's the way it goes, as Brian Clough says, and his team at the moment, with one man extra, are still locked with second division West Ham. Here's Slater. Allen, Des Walker. Foul by Allen. This is Charles. And Roy Keane. It's a bit jittery, the football, I feel. They haven't quite settled down to play the passing game for which both teams are noted. The surface may have something to do with that in the centre of the pitch, where it has cut up a bit. It's a bit rutted there. But the tension of the occasion and what's happened with Tony Gale may have contributed to the rather untidy shape to the game. But here's Crosby. And Morley gets the ball inside to Slater, supporting him Allen here. Kevin Keane out to the right. And Paris certainly found the pitch difficult there.
Yeah, the pitch in the middle of the field is just cutting up slightly. It seems a bit dead. They seem to have the ball doesn't seem to bounce very much on it, and they seem to be struggling to get control. Out on the sides of the field, though, the pitch is reasonably good. There should be no excuse for bad passing there, really.
Roy Keane. Given away by Forest. This is Slater for West Ham, but they're short of numbers up there. Forest have got an extra man, of course. Here's Nigel Clough. Crosby. Clough again. This is Roy Keane setting it up for a volley. Good idea. Spontaneity is what's required at the moment. The orthodox means of attack is not working for either side.
Roy Keane, young lad from Southern Ireland, just broken into the first division this year, and he's had a tremendous impact already. Actually, I find he's the most effective player that Forest have at the moment, both defensively and offensively. I also feel that possibly if they are going to score, he's one of the most likely. Very young, fresh, eager, enthusiastic young player.
Yes, he got the winner in the 6th round at Norwich and has had quite an impact this season. Well, as far as Bishop from Des Walker, this is Martin Allen. Paris now in the right back role after the reshuffle. Kevin Keane. They'll miss him a bit in midfield, George Paris, but that's meant for Morley. Walker goes across. Nigel Clough. Roy Keane. It's nervous, it's edgy, and at the moment it's unproductive.
I'm not trying to look for excuses for some of the players, John, but I also, when I went down on the pitch, found that the wind was quite a problem. I think that it's a bit swirly, the ball goes in the air, and I think they're struggling to actually read where it's coming down. Nevertheless, these sort of players should have the skill to be able to overcome that.
Kevin Keane looking for Allen. Walker goes across. Allen tumbles, no foul. But Kevin Keane blocks the clearance from Walker, who tries again. There isn't much thread to the game at the moment, and I think it is a bit unfair perhaps to expect these players to produce on this surface what Tottenham and Arsenal achieved at Wembley. We're into stoppage time at the end of the first half, and this is Bishop for West Ham. Sliding it out to George Paris. Morley comes to the near post, Walker's header clear. Then a cool piece of play from the man Bobby Charlton was talking about, 19-year-old Roy Keane. Paris will take the throw for West Ham. Slater's in there. And at that moment, Keith Hackett signals for half-time, and he is the man at the centre of the incident that will be talked about most in the interval, both in our studio, around the ground, and I would think at home too. Keith Hackett, who earlier in the season refereed the Manchester United-Arsenal match, which caused such a furore when he didn't send anybody off, and the clubs were docked points for the brawl. Well, today, on a very prestigious FA occasion, he took one look at that incident and he whipped out the red card to dismiss Tony Gale. It's perhaps a little unfair to say that was the most notable incident of the half, but there weren't too many scoring chances, and as the managers and the players leave the pitch, the score at Villa Park is Nottingham Forest 0, West Ham United 0.
Well, John summed it up pretty well, lads, hasn't he? Not an enormous amount of incident, but once again, one of our leading referees involved in a hugely controversial decision. Neil?
It just disappoints me immensely, Bob. Because all the cynical things that's happening in the game today, to get sent off for that, and as you can see, Crosby backs in as well, as we'll see in the replays, and it's almost a stumble, but Keith made up his mind straight away, and
we saw that, didn't we? He had made his mind instantly. You mentioned there, Neil, that Crosby was backing into him. Yeah. We can see here. It's just around about this. He leans in there.
Once he gets in front there, but you can't see from that angle. You can see it from the other angle, Bob. But obviously the referee hasn't got the cameras. But he made up his mind almost immediately, did Keith. And where's he going with the ball? I mean, this season we've had 3 or 4 worse than that, and they've not got sent off.
Do you feel the same, Ray?
I do. It's just an honest defender. He's chasing after the ball, and Crosby gets across him, puts his arm up, and I think Gale gets his arm up as well, and it's just a tussle. Crosby's running away from the goal. He's not actually going to be getting a shot.
His arm goes up there, look, doesn't it? And he backs.
They both had a tussle, and I think Crosby's gone over. But we saw Keith Hackett. He's just sprinted over to him. He had made his mind up instantly that he was going to send him off.
We can't even give a definitive overall policy, can we? Because what Keith Hackett has done here, perhaps George Courtney, another of our referees, might not have given.
George wouldn't, definitely. No, I mean, that's the thing. You win competitions, you get promotion, relegation. This season, I think, on referees. And I wrote to John Goggins a couple of weeks ago and asked him, could we actually...
John Goggins, who's in charge of the Referees Association, yes.
I asked him if we could get all the referees together on one Sunday, on the day off, and get some video films of them, because from one to the next, it's an absolute disgrace.
That's a managerial point of view. Ray, from a player's point of view, it's just as confusing, isn't it?
It is, Bob, yes, because I feel now that with Crosby running away from the goal, that I interpret the decision as running at the goal. Just
with
those,
a good goal-scoring
just those
opportunity.
8 yards running at that goal, and he wasn't doing that. And I think that's how a lot of defenders see it as well.
But don't you think it's sad, Ray, that an incident like that, with a sending off, for something such trivial as that, is made us, all our talk is about the incident, isn't it? And that's what the game's come to that at the moment.
And all neutral supporters will undoubtedly now be on the side of West Ham. Would you agree, Ray?
That's right, I would definitely, and it's obviously not the Nottingham Forest players' fault or the club's fault.
Brian Clough said the same way, wouldn't he?
Definitely.
He wouldn't want him to get sent off for that.
No, I'm sure he would agree. Ironically, it inspired the Hammers at that stage because Forest had won the possession, but it inspired them for a little spell, didn't it, afterwards?
The best chance.
Yeah, I think
Wasn't
it
it?
does. Yeah, I definitely think being down to 10 men, you definitely have to put something else into it. And here we see a corner coming over. I think it's Foster challenges there. As the ball breaks down, Foster gets in a shot and he ricochets off his shoulder, and George Parris, who's had a super game, follows up and hits the upright.
I just saw then, I wondered if it come off the defender onto the post then, when he hit it. But he hit it ever so well, didn't he, Paris?
You think there's a touch on route here, Neil, do you?
They just appeal for handball, but it's Pierce, not Pierce, Parker, isn't it, on the... Just seemed to get the slightest... I think it just deflected off him.
I think he saved it.
But that's the look that they've had this season, Forest, and you need that in the cup.
Now let's look at the managerial point of view at this moment. What is Billy Bonds going to be saying to a side that's got one man short?
I think he's got to say, let's show the people what we've got to do this for Gailey, really, and we've got as much chance as long as we can contain them and not waste our energy. But I think Clough will be doing the opposite.
And it's not easy playing against 10 men, Ray, is it? If you're organised.
If you're organised, it's very difficult to play against 10 men. But I noticed actually when Forest were a player in front, they stopped passing the ball. They started to hit killer balls all the time. If they keep passing the ball, sooner or later they get the opportunity. But West Ham must remain compact in the field. I think Bishop's having a super game in midfield, and they're working very hard. And if they keep that compactness about them, they'll be okay.
Well, we can get a view from an old Hammer, Malcolm Allison. He's down there in the tunnel area somewhere with Tony Gubber.
Well, Malcolm, everybody will have an opinion about the sending off. How did you see it?
I thought it was very unfortunate. I thought that Gary Crosby was very quick right across the front of Tony Gale. Tony Gale tried to check himself and he just caught his ankles and he fell. And I thought it was a very harsh decision. But in that situation, West Ham are a very good possession team. And when you have 10 men against 11, if you can keep possession, you can often play very, very well. And I don't think they will lose today.
You don't?
No, I don't think that, even with 10 men, I don't think they'll lose. The only problem is that Notts Forest are very good at getting 6 or 7 players into the attacking areas early, and I think that their possession, that West Ham's possession, will keep them in the game, and I don't think they get beat today. They might not win, but I don't think they get beat.
In comparison to the first semi-final that we saw earlier, one would have to say this first half's been a little bit disappointing.
Well, I mean, that was an excellent game. I mean, a superb game. Some brilliant football by Tottenham especially. They were excellent today, and some great goals. We've only had a few shots on goal, but the actual possession of the game and the ball and the football of these two well-disciplined sides has been excellent.
If I remember rightly, this time last season you got it right, didn't you, Crystal Palace?
Yeah, I was a bit lucky then. You know.
Right.
No, but I thought that they were physically a better side, and they've proved it this season that they are a good physical side.
Malcolm, thanks very much.
Pleasure.
Well, no goals here so far at Villa Park, but let's just remind ourselves of this season's FA Cup competition and some of the great goals on the road to Wembley.
He is, you know. Oh, I say! Brilliant! That is schoolboy's own stuff.
Well, no goals so far here at Villa Park, and the ground still buzzing really with that controversial decision, which I think is worth one more look at, just to see it from the angle that I think that probably Keith Hackett saw it from, lads, here, didn't he?
You're trying to convert. It doesn't get any easier, does it, Ray?
It doesn't, no.
I mean,
think
that's the left hand, isn't it?
Yeah,
but I think that's a reaction of any player playing, Bob, initially, is to grab at the guy. No, he's let him go, and he didn't actually give the foul for that.
He's giving it for this, hasn't he?
He gives it for that. As Crosby comes across him, Gal's only recovering. He's only the recovering player. And he bundles into him.
And in physical challenges, players do use their arms. Paul Gascoigne, who we've seen, uses his arms all the time, doesn't
Well,
he?
if we'd have had Keith Hackett against Tottenham, he'd have been sent off, presumably. Gascoigne. For the elbow. I mean, it's the inconsistencies once again, isn't it, Ray?
Do you see goals coming in the second half?
No.
You really think it'll go to a replay?
I hope it
and a
does.
goal?
I hope it does. I don't want them to lose because of that decision today, Ray.
I don't want them to lose, but I think there's every chance that Forest will win. I think Cloughy will be in there now telling them to pass the ball. When they pass the ball, they look a good team, Nottingham Forest.
Keep the extra man wide.
Keep the players wide and keep the width on the field, and I think they're bound to create a chance.
No player has yet imposed himself, has he, really, upon this semi-final?
We've both been impressed with Bishop, though, haven't we, Ray?
I think Bishop's
he's done well, even with 10 men. He can play and they let him play, and he's playing with a forward less to have a go at, and he's really impressing both of us, anyhow.
We mentioned about Brian Clough, or Billy Bonds rather, what would he be saying? What would Brian Clough be saying to, or have said to his men, because here they come?
I think to try and get the extra man, to keep the width and try and pass the ball, because what Ray said is right, that they haven't passed the ball since they had a sending off. And I think he'll have been glad when the whistle went, Will Brian. Don't you, Ray?
Yeah, they've got to pass the ball. If they pass the ball, the chances must come. He's got Jemison and sitting on the bench, itching to get on. And if he actually gets on, he's good in the penalty area, and who knows?
Well, Tottenham Hotspur are already at Wembley on May the 18th. Will it be West Ham United who are coming out here, or Nottingham Forest who are already out on the pitch? Let's go back to Bobby Charlton and John Watson.
Thank you very much, Bob. Just a reminder of the substitutes. Forest have, as you say, Nigel Jemison on the bench with Brian Laws, and West Ham have Jimmy Quinn and Ray Stewart. Do you see any change in the tactics, Bobby Charlton, in the second half?
No, I don't. I think that they'll maybe just keep George Paris at the right-hand side here and do without a man up front. I think that because they've never given any clear-cut opportunities for the Forest forwards, I think that they'll probably hope that they can do that for the next 45 minutes and hopefully go for a draw. I think that will be shown more as it goes nearer to the end of the game. Usually, second division sides, we find, don't usually play at the same pace right throughout the season as do the first division, and whenever we see these sort of confrontations, it's usually late on in the match that the second division sides cave in. But I think eventually they'll be forced to go back, and I don't know whether they'll be able to hold it.
May not be for 45 minutes, of course. If it's 0-0 at the end of normal time, we have half an hour's extra time, which would surely drain the 10 men even more. We shall see. West Ham have got the first free kick of the second half, and they're now playing from left to right. Potts has gone into that central defensive role, which he took over when Gale left the pitch. George Paris at right back, so it's the same as you were. Foster is forward for the kick. And he got a flick on too. Goal kick.
I've seen Forest play quite a lot this year, not just the Man United games, but other games too. And Colin Foster, when he's come up, he seems to all the time have got the ball in the air, and it's been one weakness I've felt with Forest, that they've never been dominant in that position.
Here's Nigel Clough brought down by his former colleague Colin Foster. And they both played in that first Hillsborough semi-final against Liverpool in '88. That's nice play by Slater. Allen. Wone. This is Gary Parker. Clough. Good play, Charles. It's too long for Lee Glover. McCluskey hasn't had very much to do so far. Neither, for that matter, is Crossley, although he did have to make a couple of interventions. Here's Morley. Wone. Pearce. And Forest have got 3 runners here from midfield. Potts needs to win this, and he hasn't, but the flick on by Roy Keane went West Ham's way.
Forest are going to try and go through that middle if they possibly can. Young Steve Potts, who is a right back, he's gone into the central position and doesn't have the same sort of pace of authority as he could be able to get away with if he was playing at right back. So I think that they're always going to look to try and capitalise on this and send good balls through, especially long ones, as you just saw there from Stuart Pearce.
It was Stuart Slater who forced the corner for West Ham. It's going to be taken by the captain, Bishop. Foster is forward. A lot of height on that. Here comes the goalkeeper to meet Foster. And got some length on the punch, did Mark Crossley. This is Kevin Keane. Forward by Chris Hughton. Bishop. Allen. West Ham still playing with just Morley through the middle, but the midfield players are expected, like Allen did there, to make the extra man. But in midfield itself, it's very tight. A lot of players compressed into that central third of the pitch. Nigel Clough, a nice touch to Glover, but can't get the return. And Slater. Such a clever player on the ball, but like many more, his final pass fell rather short. Here's Pearce. Wone. Nigel Clough. Oh, good skill to go past Allen. Now he's got support coming up here from Roy Keane and from Gary Crosby on the right wing with a chance for Forest, and Crosby has scored. Nottingham Forest take the lead in the FA Cup semi-final. And the scorer is Gary Crosby, 5 minutes into the second half. It was the best chance so far, but he took it with some aplomb. Nigel Clough makes all the running here, slides the ball into Roy Keane. Keane skips a challenge, feeds it out to Crosby. McCluskey has to narrow the angle, and Crosby finds a way through him. It's 1-0 Forest. An explosive start to the second half here. And Nigel Clough, the manager's son, opens up the West Ham defence with the help of Keane. And Crosby, that's a very good finish. Low down by the goalkeeper's right hand. Well taken, Bobby Charlton.
Yes, problems now for West Ham, I'm afraid. But there again through the middle of the field, a little interception by Niall Clough, and Roy Keane picking the ball up and actually being positive, knowing exactly where he was, and put Gary Crosby in. Really good play by the young midfield player from Southern Ireland, because it was a situation where he had to have a good engine to get there. He was always thinking about his position, where the rest of his players were, and very, very competent play.
So the 10 men are a goal behind, and here's Morley. That's the first time in their 3 FA Cup semi-finals in the last 4 years that Brian Clough's team have scored first. Gary Crosby is the man who made it happen. Will it be a passport to Wembley, I wonder? Long way to go. Nigel Clough again, this time Parker is the runner. There wasn't a flicker of emotion on the face of the Forest manager when we saw him just after the goal had been scored. As befits a man perhaps who's waited so long and knows it could still be snatched away. Here's Parker. But if Forest continue to press forward, Glover, well, that's holding by Foster. I sympathise a bit with Keith Hackett. He thought there was an advantage and let Glover go, and the fact that that didn't accrue can't really be blamed on the ref. It was Colin Foster's foul. Glover. There's a bit of movement up there now. Nigel Clough again. This is Wone. Good running by Roy Keane. The ball went just behind him, and Bishop snapped it up. It was a classic Forest break, that, when they come from the middle of the field with reinforcements and move the ball about well. Crosby making the extra man on the outside and tucking it away, I have to say, very deftly indeed. This is Allen for West Ham. Can they come back? Houghton. Paris. Good strong run by George Paris. He's found Slater. That's dangerous. Oh, he's at the post! Stuart Slater so close. The second time they've hit the post, West Ham. And I don't think there was a deflection then. Slater cut inside. No, that was a genuine effort going into the near corner, caught the post. So, a corner. Bishop to take it. There's Foster. Ooh, Forest had to rely on Pearce there. Up goes Nigel Clough. Good touch by him. And little Gary Crosby. Free kick. It was fouled by Bishop. Crosby, who played in the semi-final 3 years ago against Liverpool, when Brian Clough predicted a big future for him. It's a big future for this lad too, by the way. Slater, who just hit the post. Well, since then, Crosby's had a lot of injury trouble, but he returned today, and he's made his mark in the semi-final with the opening goal. Here's Wone. Wone again, and Nigel Clough, not one of his better passes, but he's lying in that position just behind the others, and West Ham are not picking him up at the moment. Forward by Walker. The intuitive play of Nigel Clough, so important to the way Forest move, and it was significant that he made the direct run which led to the goal.
Forest now wasting a little bit of time, trying to lure West Ham in. The more they can do this sort of thing, the more tired West Ham are going to be.
You've got a shot of Tony Gale there on the bench, the man who can play no further part, and there are still 35 minutes between Nottingham Forest and Wembley. This is Pearce. Paris. Glover. Free kick to West Ham. Bishop. It's a bit premature, but they're chanting "You're going out with the Arsenal," the Forest fans, to taunt their West Ham neighbours. Two banks of supporters side by side at that left-hand end. Here's the throw. That was Morley's turn. But West Ham will have a bit left yet, I fancy, even though they are down to 10. Forward by Charles. This is Glover. Skips away from Foster. Gary Parker. Glover goes again. Cut out this time by Houghton. Bishop. Not the back pass he intended. Gives Nottingham Forest a corner. Which was, I was going to say wasted. What a lovely back heel by Crosby to Parker. This is Roy Keane.
Yes, West Ham still have to keep going forward. I mean, Stuart Slater there, when he hit the post, just shows that if they can get the ball up there quick enough, they've got the players that can find something. And also, I have noticed that, certainly until the score, that Forest look a little laboured physically. I thought in the middle of the field, which, well, Nigel Clough always seems as though he's a short of breath. Doesn't seem to run round a lot, but lets other players feed off him. And that's what happened when he scored the goal. But nevertheless, West Ham still have to play this game. They're still in it. As long as it's one goal, then Forest still have to be careful and they can't go forward too quickly. These great big kicks from the goalkeeper up isn't going to help West Ham defenders very much. And it will drain them eventually, I feel.
Here's Allen in that difficult part of the pitch in the centre, so having to dig the ball out there. This is Paris. Pearce gets a foot in against Kevin Keane. Then he gets it back from Wone. Just wonder whether Billy Bonds at some stage, if it stays 1-0, will be tempted to use Jimmy Quinn. West Ham do have the added striker on the bench. Could change the system. Perhaps he'll give it a few minutes, wait and see. Nigel Clough back there helping. This is Wone to find him again. Forward goes Gary Parker. Crosby over on the right wing. This is Roy Keane, but Bishop got in first. Now it's Parker. Forrest moving well again. Crosby the other way. Keane. Glover. Keane again. It's Roy Keane. It's 2-0 Forest. And the 19-year-old Irish lad who's made his name this season has now written it across the FA Cup semi-final. Brian Clough's team are 2-0 up with less than an hour gone. Another swift, slick, incisive Forest move this. Lee Glover turned well, Roy Keane took it well, and it's 2-0.
Great play by Lee Glover here. Could have took the shot himself but let Roy Keane in.
Just as Potts got his challenge in, Bobby, wasn't it? Just got to touch his shot in before the tackle came in. Well taken.
Yes, Brian Clough still not smiling. I think he might tonight somehow.
Well, it's his 34th attempt at the FA Cup as a player or a manager. He's tired of that statistic, so I won't mention it again until the end if Forest is still winning. But they're in a wonderful position, 2-0 up, and the hammer's down to 10 men. This is Kevin Keane. Now Bishop. And Nigel Clough's contribution in the first quarter of an hour of this second half, highly significant. At the very beginning of that move that led to the second goal, he was involved again. So, Forest are half an hour away from the FA Cup final, which they haven't reached since 1959. And Nigel Clough has had a hand in both the goals. Well, it's going to be a mountainous task for West Ham now. There's no other word for it. A man short, 2 down on a hot day. Chettle clears for Forest. I think it was Ray Wilkins who was saying that Brian Clough would have been exhorting his team in that half-time break to go out and make the extra man tell, and goodness me, the first quarter of an hour of the second half reflects that, with Roy Keane snapping up the second goal off the back of the opener from Gary Crosby. Well played, George Paris, but Stuart Pearce has got the taste of Wembley in his nostrils now. This is Parker. Free kick to Forest, it's going their way. And it's impossible not to feel some sympathy for West Ham owing to the sending off incident, but here's Wone. I think what it did more than anything else tactically, it took George Paris out of midfield, where he was such an influence in so many matches this season. He's got to play right back, really. Wone. Nigel Clough on the chest. Little head work as well. Beautifully done. It's still Nigel Clough. Oh, I think that must have hit Colin Foster. This is Keane. Forest are beginning to play now their own particular brand of football to feet, for which they're noted. But West Ham break with Martin Allen. Nigel Clough was winding up there for one of the great semi-final goals. Des Walker to Wone. Walker again.
Well, great skill by Nigel Clough there. A nice. Here we have the last goal. Lee Glover, instead of having a shot himself, tucks it inside, and there's Roy Keane on his right foot. Half chance, but buried it nicely.
And Nigel Clough is running things up there at the moment. He's had an inspired start to the second half, and he's calling the tune. And the other Forest players around him are responding. That was on by Wone to Keane.
I think you're right, John, when you said about George Paris being pushed into right back. He actually was marking young Roy Keane in the middle of the field, and now you see Roy Keane going forward at every opportunity. And of course it puts terrible pressure on the defenders.
It was a foul by Steve Chettle on Trevor Morley. Well, it would be one of the great semi-final comebacks if West Ham can dig their way out of this. Paris is still an inspirational figure, but he's just tried to take on one man too many. And if he does that and Forest break with an extra player, then West Ham could go even further behind. They've got to take risks. There's no point in doing anything else. That was Foster joining the attack, and Chris Hughton here. If they could just get one back, it could change it. It's a speculative effort, really.
Yes, well, when West Ham come forward now, they're obviously committing themselves, leaving people free at the back, and they might pay the penalty. Forest probably the best team in the country for actually playing on the break and taking advantage of this sort of play. Nigel Clough looking to run everything now. Every ball will come to him, and he's a great passer, and he'll use the best. He'll use what skill he's got to create more chances. Still, great players like George Paris, big heart. They'll keep going, I'm sure.
He's the driving force behind West Ham at the moment, is Paris. That was Morley, nice ball, Kevin Keane. And here is Paris onside, and Kevin Keane! Well, it was a good opening, but he couldn't do what his namesake did at the other end. George Paris set things up. In the end, it turned out to be quite an easy save for Mark Crossley, this, because Keane's shot came straight at him. We've been playing 20 minutes in the second half. Nottingham Forest 2, West Ham United 0. Lee Glover working away there. It's Chettle marking Morley, and for so long West Ham have only had the one striker up there, and he's normally been crowded out, Trevor Morley. This is Stuart Pearce, and good running by Gary Parker from midfield. It'll go to Wone first. Pearce has continued his run down the left. This is Parker, and now Gary Charles moves up from right back. Forest have got 6 men forward. Roy Keane, Parker again into Clough. Oh, flicked on again to Parker, and now Wone and Parker. It's intricate stuff, this. It's Parker's curler! Fine save by Ludek McCloskey. Gary Parker bent that. And the Czech goalkeeper responded. Good football. And Forest's movement here was excellent. They were working the ball into a position for Parker, and he tried to find the top corner. Great save. That's Roy Keane again. Gary Parker, incidentally, played here in the semi-final for Luton Town back in 1985 against Everton, when Luton were winning 1-0 with 5 minutes to go and got beaten in extra time. David Pleat's team, that was. Well, there, he just about had Wembley in his sights, but McCloskey prevented the third goal, which would surely have settled it. Kevin Keane for West Ham. Forrester away again. That was Rowan who found Nigel Clough, and good running by Roy Keane to the right here, and Nigel Clough's ball is perfect. This is the Irishman again, Roy Keane. Good save by the keeper. Got the angle absolutely spot on, Glasgow. Don't think Keane did too much wrong. I think it goes down as a good save. Again, Nigel Clough's pass laid into Keane's path to perfection. Don't suppose there are many people that turn on at a time like this. You've probably been with us most of the day, the football fans at home, but if anybody did get delayed over the afternoon, Nottingham Forest leading by 2-0. Gary Crosby on 50 minutes, Roy Keane on 59, and the most significant first half incident, the sending off of West Ham's Tony Gale after 25 minutes for a pullback foul on Gary Crosby. Hotly debated. Here's Paris, and the goalkeeper in charge of that.
One must feel sorry, really, for West Ham. They're in a terrible situation at the moment. But to get something from it, they have to stick together. They don't want to be strung out. They don't want to give unnecessary passes away. And try to keep together still. You might get something out of it, but it's a difficult thing that they've got to do. It's obvious from Nottingham Forest's point of view that they're going to enjoy this next 20-25 minutes. Everyone's looking for the ball. They're supporting one another. Puts a lot of pressure on the defenders at West Ham, and this lad who's got the ball now, Nigel Clough, will play a big part.
This is Crosby. Good support again in the middle here. Still Gary Crosby going all the way until Colin Foster took him out. There's almost a tendency now for Forest to over-elaborate, because they have got different alternatives when they move forward towards that West Ham penalty area, which is what Chettle is doing now for the corner. Crosby to swing it in, or even go short to Parker. "20 minutes left of the 90, and Nottingham Forest appear to have a winning lead. There's Chettle. Oh, over the head of Foster, it's Nigel Clough, and it's Stuart Pearce! And the skipper's got the third. Surely Nottingham Forest are at Wembley now. Surely the long wait is over for Brian Clough in the FA Cup. And surely no more inspirational figure to clinch it for him than his captain Stuart Pearce. A bad mistake by Colin Foster. He ducked underneath the bouncing ball, really. Clough couldn't finish it, but Stuart Pearce with his right foot, shall we mention there, certainly did. It's 3-0 and Pearce in off the post.
All over now, John, I'm afraid. They have been enjoying themselves this last 10-15 minutes, Forest, playing good football. And of course they're getting a bit more dejected now, West Ham at the back, and a lot of indecision there by Colin Foster, which resulted in the goal. Stuart Pearce with his right foot, that's unusual in itself. Nevertheless, I suppose he feels in the situation he can try anything.
Well, the referee even gave Forest a helping foot there, didn't he? Everything's going their way. This is Roy Keane. They've got 5 players up against 4 defenders. This could get almost embarrassing unless West Ham are careful. Well, not like that it won't, because Parker's wasted it. But going back to Stuart Pearce, Bobby, that's his 12th goal of the season from left-back, and none of them have been penalties. What a contribution.
Yes, marvellous. He's a great player. And it would be great to see him at Wembley, which I've no doubt we will now. But from for a defender to score all those goals is really special. I know he has got takes great free kicks and penalty kicks, but nevertheless, to get that number of goals from just ordinary players, absolutely brilliant. We're very pleased at our club that Steve Bruce has done the same. It must be something that defenders are thinking about these days, going forward into situations they maybe didn't before. But they're certainly getting the rewards this season.
I think it's because they haven't got so many forwards to mark, you know, Bobby. There's a bit more freedom for them. But certainly Pearce and, as you say, Bruce have put in a handy tally this year. And you don't ever quite know where Pearce is coming from. It's not just from corners and free kicks he gets up there. It's an open play as well. Now then, Nottingham Forest on their way to Wembley, it would seem. Well, I think that might be a booking. The crowd on the far side reacted to the tackle, and Roy Keane, I don't think there's any real need actually to do that, in that part of the field, but the yellow card is shown to a young man who's had quite an afternoon. And now there's going to be a substitution by West Ham, and the man coming off is Trevor Morley, just come back into action following that stabbing injury, and the replacement is the Ireland international, Northern Ireland, Jimmy Quinn. Well, he came off the bench to score the winner against Crewe in the 5th round. He needs to do rather better than that today if he's going to rescue West Ham. They're 3-0 down, and the second half has belonged to the red shirts of Nottingham Forest. Des Walker. There's a flag up there, offside I think. Well, he's a happy young man, isn't he? Might be starting to think about whether he can get a ticket for May the 18th. And I suppose I probably am permitted to mention it now with only about a quarter of an hour to go, but it's looking very much like Tottenham versus Nottingham Forest. And I would have thought on paper that would be a cup final to savour. However, strange things have happened, and this is Martin Allen. Flags up. Kevin Keane's offside.
I must be honest really and say that Forest's attitude since half-time has been really good. And forgetting the controversy of Gale sending off, I think that really they might still have won this match. Generally speaking, they've been superior in the passing, the running off the ball, and everything they seem to have done has been intelligent. I think they probably would have won the match anyway. Nevertheless, you'll never tell that to a West Ham fan, I've no doubt. But I think, like you say, John, it'll be a good cup final. Nottingham Forest and Tottenham Hotspur. Good players, skillful players, two teams renowned for playing good football. I'm not taking anything away from West Ham. I hope the terrible thing, as far as Forest were concerned, if they were to prove me wrong.
Well, the West Ham supporters are doing their best to keep their team's morale high. It's a great sight to see them full of enthusiasm even when their team are 3-0 down, but it's the Forest Brigade who look as if they're going to Wembley. Quinn, and away by Parker. Glover couldn't get the flick on. This is Colin Foster. Nicely back into the path of Bishop. Good save by Mark Crossley. West Ham showing that they've got big hearts. But Forest have got the runners forward again. It's Keane looking for Wone. For Ian Wone, what an experience. First time he's ever started an FA Cup tie, a year out of non-league, and he looks as though he's helping his team to Wembley. Here's Crosby. Clough just inside him. Nigel Clough. Play on. Clough again. Oh, they've got man to spare here. Crosby with Parker outside him. Crosby again. Keane coming forward in the middle. It's gone past him. Clough. Was he brought down? Well, Forest had possession, although he is injured, Nigel Clough. Parker. Clough still hands on knees, nursing the knock. Forest just keeping possession. Glover. Still Lee Glover. And headed back by Kevin Keane. No flag. It's Slater. Look where Roy Keane was. What an inspirational performance by this 19-year-old. And a knowledgeable one too for a player who's only been in the league a year. Some of his defending, as I think Bobby Charlton mentioned earlier, has been as noticeable as his attacking.
Yes, I think if you had to pick a man of the match, I would have to give it to Roy Keane. Everything he's done seems to have been perfect. Everything his manager or his coach have asked him to do, he's done. He's absolutely shattered. But to win the semi-final, the prize at the end of the day is worth it. And I think certainly he's been the outstanding player and probably turned the match for Forest here.
On by Clough, looking for Glover. Well, there were only half as many people inside Villa Park as there were at Wembley, but they're making it a memorable occasion with their backing for the two teams. The noise is incessant. The scene's still very colourful. And if you are feeling sorry for West Ham, well, Jimmy Quinn is offside. Don't forget, the chances are they may well get their reward with promotion back to the First Division, and nobody would deny them that, surely.
No, not at all. We'll be pleased to see them back in the First Division. But isn't it strange, the two teams out of the four that took part in these semi-finals today, the two teams that had to win to get something from the season are the ones that are going to win. Arsenal have got the league, West Ham have got promotion. Tottenham had to do something to get something from this season with all the problems that they've had. Forest, by their own standards, have had a bad season. But like Manchester United last year, the Cup, it seems that they seem to have had the name on it. Well, certainly Wembley. But nevertheless, West Ham do have some consolation. They've a lot more to go for this season.
Well, the face of a man who's taken his team and these supporters and others like them to Wembley in the League Cup 5 times with 4 wins. But in the FA Cup, Brian Clough is within minutes now of reaching Wembley for the first time. Off goes Martin Allen, and on comes Ray Stewart, who only came back into the first team after an absence of over 2 years in the week. Here's George Paris. Quinn has made a forward run for West Ham. So Brian Clough's team selection, ignoring the claims of Jensen and to an extent Hodge, seems to have paid off. But there's some competition for places now before Wembley, I can tell you. This is Wone and Glover, the two recent additions to the team. Stuart Pearce. And what about the goal count since the semi-finals went live on BBC television? 4-3 here last year, Liverpool Palace, 3-3 at Manchester. So far here today, 3-0 to Forest off the back of 3-1 for Spurs. I won't add them up now, but you can. Here's Charles. Back into Charles' path from Glover. Charles shoots. It's number 4, and it's the young right back, Gary Charles. Great moment for him. That, without any doubt at all, clinches Nottingham Forest's place in the 1991 FA Cup final and definitely ends the long wait for an applauding Brian Clough. And Gary Charles, 21 years old yesterday, gives himself the kind of present, little deflection perhaps, you won't mind about that any player would want. The goal that puts the semi-final beyond any doubt at all. So West Ham go 4-0 down after 81 minutes. And a smiling manager knows now that it's Forest versus Spurs on the 18th of May. Just as I was saying that Palace scored 4 here last year, Forest go and do exactly the same. Slater for West Ham. And again. Well played by Potts. And here's George Paris. Is there a consolation? Well, there's a corner. Eight minutes to go. Foster is forward. Quinn, who's recently come on, is there as well. Half out there by Pearce. I can't remember Gary Charles scoring a first-team goal for Forest before, but he certainly took that one like a forward, didn't he, Bobby?
Yes, well, they're queuing up now to go forward. Every time they go up front, they look as though they're going to score a goal. And it's great for these young lads. They probably thought this was going to be a real test for them this afternoon. It's probably turned out a little easier than they thought. So they want to enjoy it while they've got it. Everyone's going forward trying to get a goal.
And there's Lee Glover, who hasn't got one yet. Pearce, who has. Bishop. And now West Ham break with Quinn. A chance here for the Hammers. It's a good chance too. Jimmy Quinn would have expected to score there, wouldn't he?
Should have scored. Yes, on his left with plenty of time. Just pulled it wide. But in this fantastic journey, see these West Ham supporters 4-0 down, and yet they're still cheering as though they were in the lead.
It's so typical of the club though, Bobby, isn't it? It's a little theatre of football down in the East End where these folk watch their game, and their affinity with the team is quite outstanding and reflected there, as you say, when the cause is lost and the hopes of a cup final place have gone. But as I say, if there's any justice, I think you'll find them back in the First Division, and that's really Billy Bond's main target this season. The cup was a bonus in that sense. There's Walker. But if we're talking about teams who play football the right way, the same has to be said of Nottingham Forest, the winners today. Very rarely do you see them resorting to anything underhand, not usually in trouble with referees. A simple, straightforward, passing style of play on the ground, and that should make for a good day at Wembley. Just under 6 minutes away they are now, although obviously the match today will be clouded slightly by the sending off in the first half of Tony Gale, and although I don't particularly want to dwell on that, you have to remind yourself that it was a turning point. It's given Forest so much more space in which to play. This is Roy Keane, Glover in the middle, Crosby coming up in support, number 7. Well, we shan't be needing extra time today, not in either semi-final. 2 clear-cut victories, and Forest moving forward, looking for number 5. Well, often a team can relax and freewheel a bit in a semi-final, but they're so much in charge now. That's a foul by Ray Stewart on Stuart Pearce. Gary Parker sizing up the chances of curling one, but says no, gives it to Wone instead. Played in for Glover. And again. Well, in this spring sunshine, my mind goes back to the fog-bound days by the Trent in January when Forest couldn't get their third-round match played against Crystal Palace. They're 4 minutes away now from Wembley. It's a great competition, this FA Cup, and it's got to have its sad side, as reflected today in what's happened to West Ham, particularly in the first half. Chettle with Quinn. Then Charles gets involved. Oh, good ball by Quinn. It's Kevin Keane for West Ham. He's away from the goalkeeper. Chips it. George Paris stretching. Couldn't get the contact he needed. But all credit to West Ham. They had a real go, Bobby, really in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, epitomised by that man there. Billy Bonds, always the type that wanted to do everything he could. 100% player. George Paris, he's so tired he couldn't actually get the height to put the ball in the back of the net. But brilliant.
Off goes Roy Keane. What a day he's had. And into the action. I'm sure that's a deliberate ploy by Brian Clough to give Brian Laws, a good, solid, experienced pro, a taste of the semi-final. And, well, they'll remember Roy Keane for his first year in league football, and he's going to finish it would seem, in the FA Cup final at Wembley. Also strikes me that both the Forest fullbacks have scored. That can't happen very often in a semi-final. Pearce and Charles. But then again, there's been that sort of freedom. Here's Laws. Crosby, Parker. I just wonder how Brian Clough is going to react when the final whistle goes. You just never know with the man. He might walk off, he might stay out, we shall see. 2 minutes to go, his team are 4-0 up, and they're having a joyride to Wembley now. His son Nigel directing operations in masterful style in the second half. He's found Wone. Oh, the space here. It's Laws, and now it's Crosby. And Crosby again. That hit Colin Foster. Some tired legs now on the West Ham side. Crosby still. Charles. And it's Pearce. Through by Clough. Tries to find Pearce again. Potts. This is Quinn. And Nigel Clough, well, when you're 4 up in the semi-final, your legs want to go on and on. And he made a tackle there, which actually has brought both himself and Jimmy Quinn to the ground. We've just got a minute to go here at Villa Park, and Forest faces reflecting that they are close to something which to their club is extra special. It's 32 years since Nottingham Forest reached the FA Cup final. They beat Luton Town in 1959, and it's about to happen again. The West Ham physio, John Green, is on the pitch, attending to substitute Jimmy Quinn.
Well, I'm very pleased for Nottingham Forest. They're a marvellous club. Maurice Roth, the chairman, and all his directors, right through from Brian Clough, right through the boot boy. It's a marvellous club, and they deserve this little place in history. Brian Clough, what can be said? There'll be lots of words written about him between now and the final, and he'll have a lot to say.
And here's Lee Glover, the man who Brian Clough selected ahead of Nigel Jemson today. Nigel Clough, a good pass forward, and they're on the move again with Wone. This is now time being added on for stoppages, and there's Brian Laws, the substitute. It opened up for him, but he shot wide. Nice for Brian Laws. I remember at Old Trafford, 2 years ago in that replayed semi-final against Liverpool, he had the misfortune to put the ball in his own goal and send Liverpool to Wembley. But today, a very different scene for Nottingham Forest. And for those players who've been involved, like Brian Clough, in 2 losing semi-finals in the last 3 years, the tide has turned for them. And surely nobody with a heart in football would begrudge them that.
No, he must go down as one of the great managers, Brian Clough. He's running off now. He reckons he's done his job. He's motivated the players, he's got them to play really marvellous football, and they're at Wembley. Well played.
The man of the moment has left the arena. And how typical that he should do something other managers perhaps wouldn't do, because the final whistle has gone. And Nottingham Forest are through to Wembley to play Tottenham Hotspur in the FA Cup final of 1991. Billy Bonds congratulates the opposition. Stuart Pearce leads Forest towards their supporters. on what for this club is a memorable day. Billy Bond's team acquitted themselves with dignity in defeat. Reduced to 10 men in the 25th minute. That will be hotly debated over the course of the next few days. But once the second half started, it was Nottingham Forest off the back of the first goal from young Gary Crosby who really went to town. And their supporters enjoyed it. It was 4-0. It could, in all honesty, have been more. So overwhelming was Forest's superiority in the second half. And as the players take the bow and the plaudits and the applause, the manager, who came out ahead of his team to sample the atmosphere, has disappeared to let them have centre stage. But don't worry about that. What will be written about tomorrow will be that Brian Clough has taken his team to the FA Cup final, and that will be his first experience of that occasion in 35 attempts. There's the goalkeeper who had one anxious moment. I think it's fair to say George Parris' shot deflected against the post in the first half was something of a turning point. But once Crosby had scored, there was no stopping Nottingham Forest. And what a cup final in prospect. You have to lick your lips at the possibilities which are thrown up by Nottingham Forest versus Tottenham Hotspur. Two teams who play football the way that their managers would say it was meant to be played, on the floor, through the middle of the field to feet, and let's hope they can live up to the occasion when they meet on May the 18th. For the moment, as Stuart Pearce, the great leader, goes to thank the supporters, the score at Villa Park in the FA Cup semi-final is Nottingham Forest 4, West Ham United 0.
Well, no doubt about it in the end, lads, but that early goal in the second half was quite important, Neil, wasn't it?
Yeah, Ray said if they got a goal, they'd get 4. And you were right again, Ray, weren't you? It was Nigel Clough to get over, and I thought he dominated the first half an hour. And they made the extra number count.
It's sad that at the end of it, Forest having played so well in the second half, it will still be people querying, would it have been so clear-cut had it not been for that decision in the first half?
That's right, Bob, and who can tell what the scoreline would have been, but West Ham would certainly have had a better chance. I think if there's one team that you wouldn't like to play against when you're down to 10 men, it would be Nottingham Forest.
Yes.
I think we've got to say as well that Forest exploited the 10 men to one of the best exhibitions I've seen for a long while.
Well, Brian Clough has got there at last, and his son played a big part in that opening goal, scored by Gary Crosby very early on. We can have a look at it here.
Took it ever so well, didn't he? Because it was hard and low down to the goalkeeper.
Roy Keane, who played his part helping it on, but as you say, it's tight to the legs, isn't it?
Yeah.
There it is in the back of the net, but Cloughie got the space in the second half where their 10 men couldn't pick him up, and when he's given that time and space, he's a marvellous passer for the ball. He's got a very good footballing brain as well, and he brought other players into the game at the right stage as well.
West Ham had no alternative but to just come out then, did they? They're down tonight to 10 men rather, and then they just got to have a go.
And yet they're still at the post. They still had another good effort. It was a credit to them. The supporters were fantastic, Bob, at the end, wasn't it? In the last 25 minutes, to carry on chanting like they did when they were losing all that, the goals. I thought it was...
You make that point, actually. You're absolutely right, Neil. They did hit the post when it was only 1-0, wasn't it?
That's right.
That time.
Stuart Slater came in. I thought Crossley was a little bit wrongly positioned there, but they got away with it, and good luck to them. It promises to be a great final.
Yes. Roy Keane, we picked him out at the start as being an influence, this young Irish boy, and he certainly proved that again today, didn't he?
He's got a tremendous engine, Bob, and he gets forward from midfield. We see him here picking the ball up. He plays a terrific 1-2 here with Glover, who had a super game, turns, and he's on the end of it again. Good first touch, and drives it low past Ludo in goal.
You likened him to Hodgie, didn't you?
I think he's out of his clone. I think he's a clone of Steve Hodge.
Because he gets in the box so much. He's full of it, isn't he? He just loves the game of football. You can tell he's so fresh.
Stuart Pearce, we always thought he would be a big influence. He wasn't that dominating influence today, but it was very appropriate that the man who's been so inspirational for Forest pops up with a goal.
It was with his good foot as well, wasn't it? It was right foot, wasn't it? But it was a hell of a good throw by Crosby, the old-fashioned long throw, just a mix-up in the box and laid off, and he came in and followed it in well. The goalkeeper had no chance whatsoever.
I remember Stuart Pearce. I have to say he's come a long, long way. Bobby Gould signed him for Coventry City, and I think I had a meal out that night on him, but he has come a long way. And also you pointed out the way he's come back from that disappointment of the World Cup missed penalty.
I think his composure is different class now. I think he really does lead by example, and his use of the ball is excellent.
We've always known he's aggressive, but he's got that other element to his game now. Well, he doesn't give much away. It's not just his tackling, it's his awareness and everything, isn't it?
Well, I think he seems to be picking his tackles better as well. A couple of times I think Stuart's been criticised, and rightly criticised, for being a bit rash, making some rash challenges, but I think now he's becoming a bit of a complete defender.
So that was 3-0 there, and then the lad who I think had his birthday yesterday, Gary Charles, he popped up there. By that time Forest were beginning to enjoy themselves, and as John Motson and Bobby Charlton pointed out, they love to play the ball on the ground, don't they? But this is a Charles goal.
He did ever so well here. He's a very quick player, and he plays a good one too. I think it's Glover again who supplies the ball back, and he drills it. I think that sums up West Ham's afternoon. He's gone through the legs of the defender as well, and ends up in the back of the net.
They were really tired by then, weren't they, Bob?
Yeah.
But, no matter what you say, it was the crucial thing was the refereeing decision. And I heard Bobby Charlton say that they probably would have still won. I don't think we agreed with that. Totally, did we, Ray?
No, I don't think.
I think it might have been an entirely different game.
Well, we can't get a word out the Forest dressing room at this moment, but we can hear from the losing manager, the guy who's done so much in his first season as the West Ham manager. Billy Bonds is talking to Tony Glover.
Well, Billy, we wish you could have been in happier circumstances, but what are your feelings at the end of that?
Obviously, the turning point was the sending off, which I don't really want to comment about. But it wasn't going to be our day today. We hit the post when it was 0-0. It was Stuart Slater's chance to hit the post when I think it was 1-0 to them. So it wasn't going to be our day. But I wish Forest all the very best. They put their goals away well, and I wish them all the best in the final.
Sure. In the first 25 minutes, when it was two teams of 11 men, you seem to have more than matched them, and in fact it was difficult at that stage to have predicted a winner.
Yeah, I think we were in with a good chance even when we had 10 men. We seemed to take the game to them after that and had a good little spell. But it wasn't to be our day.
As the goal started to go in, there was a shot of you, and you seemed to be looking down at your feet. Is it possible to ask what was going through your mind?
I mean, the game had slipped by us then. I mean, at 2-0, it was very hard for us. At 1-0, but I mean, at 2-0, you just felt our legs had gone a little bit with 10 men, and obviously when the third went in, you just hoped it didn't get to too big a proportions.
Sure. A lot of young players out there.
Yes, yeah, I think I did the club proud. I mean, the fans were great for us today, and I thought I did the club proud. I was proud of the players today.
Thanks so much, Bill.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
Oh, we expected him to do it well, but it's still tomorrow all the headlines will be about that controversial decision, which we must look at it just once more, lads, I think, because it was a key issue, wasn't it?
I think Billy spoke very well there, Bob. I think he
Diplomatic, wasn't he?
But I think he did very well in summing up the performance of Forest as well. I can't really see why the Gow gets sent off. It's just a tussle.
In British football, Rob, that sort of tattle can't get a red card. I mean, the game's gone all wrong if that's a red card, isn't it, Ray? Some of the things going off in the game today, if that warrants a red card, then we should start questioning a lot of things.
But they're there. Nottingham Forest against Tottenham Hotspur. Forest chances.
The best final, Ray, I'm sorry, we don't want a London final. There's only one winner, isn't there?
You've been saying that all day.
Well, we don't want all the Londoners getting all the glory. I mean, Forest will walk it in at Wembley.
I think it's going to be a super game.
Gascoigne
It's a really open game.
He'll have an operation before then, won't he?
Yeah, I'm sure he will. I hope he does the way he performed today. You know, he performed exceptionally well this morning. We've seen Forest play some super football this afternoon, and it adds up for a tremendous final. Tremendous game.
Yeah. Have you any final thoughts of today?
Disappointment for Billy Bonds because of the way, but I think we've got to look ahead, and I think it would have been the best final at Wembley, Forest versus Tottenham.
Right, thanks very much, lads. There we are, the 1991 FA Cup final will be between Tottenham Hotspur and Nottingham Forest. Old Big Head, as Brian Clough calls himself, has finally made it. It should be a smashing day. Bye-bye from all of us.
Maverick has gone forward with Stewart to the right, Lineker and Howells to the left. Is Gascoigne going to have a crack? He is, you know. Oh, I say! Brilliant! That is schoolboy's own stuff. Stewart. Enjoyed playing in midfield, Stewart. Nice little touch from Gascoigne. Allen was onside, plenty forward. Maverick trying to get there. Smith, it's gone in. Lineker got the final touch. It's curled. Smith! He scored! Dixon's cross. Smith's head. Mabbotts fed it well. Naeem to the left. Samways ahead. And Lineker uses him by not using him. Good try, scored! And David Seaman will be very disappointed about that. It seemed to go through his fingers. Good break by Tottenham.
Nigel Clough, good skill to go past Allen. Now he's got support coming up here from Roy Keane and from Gary Crosby on the right wing with a chance for Forest, and Crosby has scored. Nottingham Forest take the lead. Nigel Clough back there helping. This is Wone to find him again. Forward goes Gary Parker. Crosby over on the right wing. This is Roy Keane, but Bishop got in first. Now it's Parker. Forest moving well again. Crosby the other way. Keane. Glover. Keane again. It's Roy Keane. It's 2-0 Forest. And the 19-year-old Irish lad who's made his name this season has now written it across the FA Cup semi-final. 20 minutes left of the 90, and Nottingham Forest appear to have a winning lead. There's Chettle. Oh, over the head of Foster, it's Nigel Clough, and it's Stuart Pearce! And the skipper's got the third. Stuart Pearce. And what about the goal count since the semi-finals went live on BBC television? 4-3 here last year, Liverpool Palace, 3-3 at Manchester. So far here today, 3-0 to Forest, off the back of 3-1 for Spurs. I won't add them up now, but you can. Here's Charles. Back into Charles' path from Glover. Charles shoots. It's number 4, and it's the young right back, Gary Charles,